Okay, so here is the review for the 5.3 to 5.4 quiz. Now this quiz is going to be online, it's going to be on Tested, so I'm going to send you codes tomorrow. Alright, so we have, it's going to look like this, the first 13 problems. So the first, it's going to be probably 20 problems on there. So 10 of them will just be factoring, and the other 10 will be solving. There won't be any word problems. Alright, so here we go. Number one, what you should have done. Again, we got three terms, no leading coefficient, so two sets of parentheses. We put our x in the front of each one. Last sign's a plus sign, so that means the signs are same, and they're both whatever this middle sign is, in this case, both plus. Now we want the factors of 8, that when you add them, because last sign's a plus sign, you get a 6. Well, the factors of 8, that when you add them, our choices are 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. And 2 and 4 give us 8, and when they add them together, they give us 6. So 2 and 4. All right. Number 2. All right. Again, no leading coefficient, so two sets of parentheses. X is in the front. This time we have a minus sign in the back, so that means the signs are different. So 1 plus, 1 minus. All right, now we need our factors of 12 that when we subtract them, because the last sign is a minus sign, we get a 4. So we have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, or 3 times 4, and 2 times 6 gives us 12, and when we subtract, we get 4. So now we got to be careful. When the signs are different, the bigger number has to go in with whatever the middle sign here is. So our middle sign here is plus, so that means the 6 is bigger, it goes with the plus sign, and the 2 goes with the minus sign. All right, next one. Again, no leading coefficient, two sets of parentheses. X is in the front. Last sign's plus, so signs are same. This time they are both minus because the middle sign's minus, so minus and minus. We need the factors of 32. Then when we add them up, we get a 12, and that would be 4 times 8. 4 times 8 gives us 32, and 8 plus 4 gives us 12. So since the signs are the same, it doesn't matter where you put them. All right. Number 4. All right, this time we have a leading coefficient. So this is where we have to do our box. Again, we take our first term, but drop off the square. That goes in the top, so 3x and 3x. All right, goes in the top. Now, you multiply first times last. That gives us 15. So now we need the factors of 15 that when you add them up, you get an 8. And that would be 5 times 3. So we put a 5 and we put a 3. We go to our last sign. Our last sign's a plus sign, so that means the signs are the same, and they're both plus. So we put a plus in here. And then we group this first side together. Can we factor anything out of it? And the answer is no. So we just bring it over, 3x plus 5. And then we group the other side together and we say, okay, can we factor anything out of that? And those are both divisible by 3. So we divide them both by 3. That becomes a 1. And that becomes a 1. So it leaves us with x plus 1. All right, number 5. All right, again, we have a leading coefficient. So now we have to do our box, put a 6x in the top and a 6x in the top. All right, so now we're going to have to do some work with this one. So we got to multiply 6 times the 28. All right. And that gives us 168. So now we got to find the factors of 168 that when we subtract them, because the last sign's a minus sign, we get a 13. So what I do is this, just take your calculator and we're just going to do 168 divided by 4 and try that and see what that gives us. And that gives us 4 times 42. So there's too far apart because 42 minus 4 isn't going to give us 13. So we got to go higher. So again, I'm going to take my 168 and I'm going to divide that by 8. And that gives me 8 times 21. Well, 8 times 21, that equals 168, and it also, when I subtract them, it's going to give me a 13. So that's what I'm going to use, is I'm going to use my 8 times my 21. All right? So again, that was 8 times 21. So I put an 8 here and a 21 here. Now the signs are different. The bigger one has to get the minus sign. So 21's bigger, so a minus here and a plus here. All right, now my 6x plus 8, I can factor a 2 out of both of those. So this becomes a 3x, and this becomes a positive 4. So I get 3x plus 4. All right, now that 6x minus the 21, the other side, they're both divisible by 3, so I divide by 3. This becomes a 2x, and this becomes a 7, minus 7. So I got 2x minus 7. And that is how we factor those out. So that was factoring them out with and without leading coefficients, which is going to be on the quiz. All right. So this next page, all right, this next page, we're not only factoring them out, but now we're solving them, because now we have an equal sign and it's equal to 0, because we need a 0 on the one side. All right, so this one should be fairly easy to do. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do two sets of parentheses, because there's no leading coefficient on this one, equals 0. X is in the front. Last sign's a minus sign, so signs are different. And now we need our factors of 24, that when we subtract them, because our last sign's a minus sign, we get a 2. Well, that's going to be 6 times 4. And now 6 is a bigger number. It's got to go in with the plus sign. So 6 goes here. The 4 goes here. Now, since there's an equal sign, we got to finish this off. So now we take both of the factors. So we take x plus 6. We set that equal to 0. And we take x minus 4. Set that equal to 0. And now we have to solve both of them. So on this one, we subtract 6, and we get x equals negative 6. This one, we add 4, and we get x equals 4. So we got our two answers, x equals negative 6 and x equals 4. All right, next one. Again, no leading coefficient. All right, so right away, we just go to two sets of parentheses, equals 0, x is in the front. Last sign's a plus sign, so signs are same, and the middle sign's minus, so they're both minus signs. Minus, minus. We need our factors of 6 that add up to 7, and the factors of 6 that add up to 7 would be 6 and 1. And the signs are same, so it doesn't matter where we put them. Then we set x minus 6 equals 0. We add 6, and we get x equals 6. We take x minus 1, set that equal to 0. We add 1, and we get x equals 1. So we get our two answers, x equals 6 and x equals 1. All right, number 8. Now number 8 isn't equal to 0. So we got to get it equal to 0 first. So what we're going to do is move this 23x to the other side. To remove it from this side, we got to do the opposite. Right now it's a negative, so we have to add 23x. Add 23x. So we add 23x to both sides. This side it cancels out and gives us our equals 0. Now on the other side, make sure you're putting them in the right order. We need the x squared term first, so the x squared term. Then we need the x term. Then we need to term the constant that doesn't have the x. And then no leading coefficient, so we factor it out. Two sets of parentheses, equals 0. X is in the front. Signs are the same, and they're both plus. And the factors of 22 that add up to 23 are 22 and 1. So now we take x plus 22, set that equal to 0, subtract 22, and we get x equals negative 22. Then we take our x plus 1, set that equal to 0, minus 1, and we get x equals negative 1. So we have our two answers, x equals negative 22 and x equals 1. All right, number 9. Number 9. So again, no leading coefficient. It's already equal to 0. So just two sets of parentheses, equal to 0. X is in the front. Last sign's a minus sign, so signs are different. Now we need our factors of 21 that when we subtract them, we get a 4. So we got 7 times 3. 7's the bigger number. It's got to go in with the minus sign. So 7 goes here, and the 3 goes there. And then we just set it equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3, and we get x equals negative 3. X minus 7 equals 0. Add 7, and we get x equals 7. All right, so those ones with the leading coefficients, those without leading coefficients, those should be the easy ones. And remember, don't mess up the easy ones. They're the ones that you should be doing well on. All right, so now we go to the next one. These have leading coefficients. All right, so again, they have a leading coefficient, so we got to do our box thing. 6x, 6x. All right, and then we multiply. 6 times 3 gives us 18. We need the factors of 18 that when we subtract them, we get a 7. So that would be 9 times 2. So a 9 and a 2. Now the signs are different. The bigger one has to be negative because the middle sign's negative. So the 9's negative and the 2 is positive. So now what can we factor out of that? Well, we can factor a 3 out. So we divide the 6 by 3, it gives us 2x. Divide the 9 by 3, it gives us 3. So it leaves us with 2x minus 3. The other one, these are both divisible by 2. So we divide the 6x by 2, it gives us 3x. Divide the 2 by 2, it gives us a positive 1. So we're left with 6 with 3x plus 1. All right, so 3x plus 1 equals 0. Now we just have to set those both equal to 0 and solve. So we get 2x minus 3 equals 0. We add 3. Gives us 2x equals 3. We divide by 2, and we get x equals 3 halves. Then we take our 3x plus 1, set that equal to 0, subtract 1. Gives us 3x equals negative 1, divide by 3, and we get x equals negative 1/3. So there's our two answers. All right. Now on the quiz, these are going to be multiple choice. So that's how I'm going to leave the answers as 3 halves and negative 1/3. All right. So if you're using decimals, then I wouldn't do that. All right. Now, number 11 gives us a good one to look at because these are all divisible by 2. So you can actually make some of these problems a little bit easier dividing them by the same number. So 2 is divisible, 10 is divisible by 2, and 12 is divisible by 2. So what we're going to do is make this problem easier. Divide both sides by 2. All right? So when we do that, it leaves us with x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. All right? Now there's no leading coefficient. So since there's no leading coefficient, we can go right to our 2 sets of parentheses, equals 0. X is in the front. Signs are both the same. They're both negative. And then the factors of 6 that add up to 5 would be 3 and 2. Then we take x minus 3, set that equal to 0. Add 3. And we get x equals 3. Take x minus 2, set that equal to 0. Add 2. And we get x equals 2. All right. Number 12. Number 12. Can't factor anything out of this one. All right. So this one, what we're going to do again is we're going to do the box 6x and 6x and multiply 6 times 28. And I think we did this one. All right. Because we did 6 times 28 over here on this page. Right. So we had our 6 times 28. So this is really the same problem. So we found out it was 168. And then our factors were 8 and 21. All right. So again, 6 times 28, all right, gives us 168. And the factors that subtract to give us 13 are going to be 8 and 21. All right. So we're going to put an 8 in here and a 21 in there. All right. And the signs are different. The bigger one's got to be plus, though, this time. So this time the 21's got to get the plus, and this gets the minus. So now we can factor a 2 out of these, and it leaves us with a 3x and a 4. So we're left with 3x minus 4. And here we can factor a 3 out of these. So that leaves us with a 2x and a 7. So we get 2x plus 7 equals 0. Now we got to set them equal to 0. And solve. So we add 4. Gives us 3x equals 4. Divide by 3. And we get x equals 4/3. Alright? And then we do the same thing with the 2x plus 7. Set that equal to 0. Subtract 7. 2x equals -7. And then divide by 2. And we get x equals -7/2. Alright, one more problem. Here we go. We got 6x squared plus 2 equals 7x. Again, we have to get that 0 over here first. So we subtract 7x. Subtract 7x. And then remember, we got to put them in the right order. So the squared term first, 6x squared, minus 7x, and then plus 2. All right, our x squared term, our x, and then our constant. All right, and then we can factor this out. Again, leading coefficient. So we do our box. 6x, 6x. 6 times 2 is 12. We want the factors of 12 that add up to 7, and that would be 3 and 4. All right, signs are the same. They're both negative. All right, and then we go over here. We can factor 3 out of that, so that becomes a 2x, and that becomes a 1. So it leaves us with 2x minus 1. And then the other side, 6x minus 4, we can factor a 2 out of that, and that leaves us with a 3x and a minus 2. So 3x minus 2 equal to 0. All right, now we set them equal to 0, so 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1. 2x equals 1. And then divide by 2. We get x equals 1/2. And then our 3x minus 2 equals 0. Add 2. We get 3x equals 2. Divide by 3. And we get x equals 2/3. All right, so that's what your quiz is going to look like. It's just going to be problems like that. All right, so you're going to have ones that you just have to factor. Those will be the first 10. And then the second 10 will be problems where you have to factor them and then you have to solve them. All right, so make sure you're ready for the quiz. You can go back over this video.